Okay, everyone. Hello. This is your, This is your first episode of Daily Footy and Other Sports with me, your host Taz, and that weird over there, Sean, aka Scene. As you can see, he's a very confused yet avid Borough fan. But we'll get to that in a minute. Right. What we like to do is we like to discuss very particular types of categories here. We'll start with football, of course, because we are massive football fans. Read
football, mate.
Yeah, exactly. But we have other sports that we also like to watch, and we will discuss them as well. Because it's just a bit weird at the moment, we'll discuss a few other things like current affairs. I think we've got a lot to talk about. Right.
Mophead's been saying a lot of things even today. Too bad he cancelled rugby. Otherwise, some people would like to give him a rugby tackle, although he can give others some good tackles himself.
Hey, well, we'll get to the rugby talk. We've got to start with football. It's exactly where we've got to start. Right. Where do we start with football? First and foremost, what's your opinion on the cancellation?
I thought you can just talk about what's your opinion on Manchester United. No?
I'll come to that. But I think we've got to talk generally. I mean, it's pretty crazy right now. So, what are your thoughts on the cancellation?
There's more to life than just Man United. Please remember that.
Yeah, we're going to talk about United later. I mean, we're not doing it just yet, all right? We're just talking football in general.
So even the predicament we are in right now, there's more to life than Man United. So on a serious note, yeah, it's been quite devastating. Even the whole situation, how they've managed this, the games being on, then being postponed. It took the report. Well, you can really admire that the owner of Nottingham Forest was even able to give the revelation that he had tested positive. If he never had done so, then a lot of these factors that followed on would have never happened in the first place.
You could argue that, but do you not think that he just wasn't a big enough name to have basically caused delays and cancellations, to other people? I mean, personally, I think because he's just a guy who's the owner of, a top flight Greek side, but also the owner of a championship side in England, he wasn't taken quite as seriously. Whereas the second somebody like Mikel Arteta, who, of course, he's not an established manager, but he does manage an established side, and Callum Hudson-Odoi, who's a very established player right now, albeit on the up, that's what triggered it. Why is it taking the top tier names to for us to sort of cancel proceedings?
But you can also argue that I like to play devil's advocate with our friend Taz here. So 100% he's right what he's saying. But you can also argue the point that he was the first person, and then when Mikel Arteta was diagnosed, it kept on following up with more and more people. So you can also argue that it was also the argument of the quantity rather than the quality of the name had led to the seriousness of that the games need to be postponed, because even Man City, Arsenal was postponed beforehand, even before Arteta was actually revealed to have been diagnosed as positive, because of Arsenal and Nottingham Forest had a game not too long ago in the FA Cup.
No, it wasn't Forest. It was Arsenal v Olympiacos.
Oh yes, whoopsie.
He's allegedly shaken and tapped people on the shoulder, or at least 4 Arsenal players, and clearly had contact with Arteta as well.
That's why he missed.
This isn't going to work if you don't get your facts straight.
Yeah, he must have contact with Aubameyang. That's why he missed the last second chance. So oh no, it was basically an open goal.
Hey, I was delighted with that, to be honest with you. We'll also get to the fact that we have our teams and we don't like certain teams as well. But yeah, I mean, we've got plenty of time for that.
Hopefully.
Yeah, so I mean, fingers crossed. Yeah. Well, no. hello, we're back again. Bit of a problem.
Oh, I was a bit worried.
This will happen. Do you agree with the initial choice to have play behind closed doors, or do you think the second we got wind of it, we should have basically just stopped play altogether?
So that's a really good question, because there's a lot of financial implications that has been affected because of the cause that has happened. But you can also argue that if they had better preparations beforehand, it may have not escalated as badly as it has, because it was in the Wuhan for a long time. Since January, they've diagnosed the patient having the bat snake hybrid virus in the first place. So therefore, if there should have been more awareness of the possibility of the virus spreading and the fact that it's so contagious, we should also look for the best for the health of the footballers themselves, because a lot of footballers have said that they've been seen as cattle in the way they've been forced to play. Because
Wayne Rooney said that himself, hasn't he?
Yes.
Yeah, carry on, sorry.
Oh, sorry, I was interested by your point of view, but like, as a lot of players have thought bad, because even my Balotelli has said that it's not just the players that are playing, it's the families that they are around that will also be affected. So even if the family members are in quarantine and isolation, the footballers being forced to compete with other footballers who may be carrying the virus, which can be symptomless for a long time. Therefore, they could affect their other family members, including the elderly, and then therefore it's another means of transferring the virus, spreading the virus quicker around the population, which is not right.
No, absolutely. I mean,
what do you believe? Because I love your point of view.
I just think the second we sort of, it's so weird. It's so difficult actually, because I mean, arguably, from a humane perspective, I would have maybe stopped all sport as soon as this happened. There was absolutely no way that we were going to basically be able to continue playing various sports and activities without absolutely any issues at all. You know, certainly in this current phase, where for the next couple of months at least, you know, you're talking about mass quarantine just to sort of make sure we can focus on who's actually affected and stuff like that. You can't do that if you've got, 22 players on a pitch, and then you've not just got two managers to deal with, you've got other support staff in there, you've got, other support staff like cleaners and people that prepare the pitch, and of course we've got potentially thousands of people at the stadium who will react to a goal not by touching shoulders but by embracing the people next to them. So how on earth, why would you even take that risk the second this happened?
Exactly.
I just feel like yes, Arteta might still have got it. Yes, Hudson-Odoi might have still have got it. But, it's taken a bit too long. I mean, it's and typically the government, imposes this ban a few days after everybody else has done it on themselves.
Because there's been such a public outcry to demand for it to actually happen.
The outcries basically come from just sort of saying, well, let's just not do. We can't risk it. If you don't put a blanket ban on things, people would have lost their revenue because people weren't turning up. Simple as that. So I just don't see the merit in risking people's lives like that. I mean, that I know we're going to talk about other sports in about 5-10 minutes or so, but I mean, I personally like to go to the snooker quite a lot. I've got the World Championships, hopefully I'm going to, but I'm fully expecting, well, I mean, we'll cross our fingers, but I mean, that just in the last week, they went from completing the Gibraltar Open, for example, with next to no fans in the auditorium. The proposal was to have, I think it's called the Players' Championship, I think it's in Wales this week. and that has been completely cancelled, and consequent tournaments for the next couple of months have been cancelled. Well, at least for the next month or so, with the World Championships due to start in the middle of April, and I'm going for the latter stages. But you know,
Fingers.
wait, well, you say fingers crossed, but I mean it's
We don't know what the conditions will.
exactly. You don't. They could contain it from now, between now and then, but at the same time, you're going to get a lot of fans, and myself included, who might genuinely be thinking, well, I don't really know if I'm confident enough that it is truly contained, or I don't really know if I really want to risk it.
Exactly.
I'm not going to work with people I know and who I can trust, that if they think that they've got something, they'll own up to it and then say, guys, I think we all need to just go into isolation. I'll be in an auditorium with, I think it's about 800 to 900 people who I've never met in my life.
Yeah.
You can't trust them.
And they're thinking, I can't get my money back by any refunds if possibly no one else would want to buy the ticket, and that they may have spent a lot of money to get in the first place.
Well, even though these tickets are bought with sort of no refund in mind, I don't think they'd have a choice. I think the worst thing they could do is have a strong stance and say that they're not going to do a refund, because one thing you'll do is you'll just lose fans in the process. For that in particular, the best thing you can do is you can just delay the tournament, or of course you're just going to have to postpone the rest of the season. I mean, the season ends both for snooker and for football, as it happens, around May. So yeah, but obviously,
the season for football, that they want to aim for the end of June, possibly.
Yeah, I mean, and you and I have been discussing this as well. We were very curious about it, haven't we? Regarding when they start up again, and when they should conclude. I mean, I've been watching a little bit of TV, and I know some broadcasters have been saying that I think they're penciling in the end of June as a actual sort of fixed date that they're planning on finishing the league. And I thought to myself, you can't have a fixed date, because you just don't know when you're even going to get started again. You can say you don't know when you're going to start, and so consequently you can't just sort of say, well, look, we're going to start up at the start of June or the end of May or something like that, but you have to get it all done by the end of June. You just can't do that, because it's not fair. It's unfair on the players. You don't even know whether you'll actually be able to start playing prior to that, and it's just not worth the risk. So that's very frustrating. I mean, when you have to hear that.
How many games would they have to play per week? If it gets delayed longer, or apparently meant to return early April, if that gets delayed further on, then you have to play 3-4 games a week. That's impossible. And
you have to have. You're talking. Most teams have got 9 or 10 games left, I think. Generally speaking, you can have a 3-day gap and be ready to go. But just look at the Christmas period. It's a manic month, and it's particularly crazy around the Christmas period. You're talking about 10 games. Feasibly you can get that done in a month. Is it healthy? Is it likely that players are going to come out of it fine and fit and healthy? Well, Bruno Fernandes might. I don't know what that guy does with his training regimes, but it's not healthy. I mean, if you have a 6-week period, for example, when they actually have a bit of a gap, that makes sense to me.
The viewers are going to hear this plenty of times and find out why this is a great counter. But the counter to your argument why we have to be clear from the Christmas issue is, ladies and gentlemen, this is perhaps Marcus Rashford's biggest fan right here. And because of the Christmas period, it aggravated his injury furthermore, because he got injured once, and then
it wasn't Christmas period actually. It wasn't. It was after. He was actually still in cracking form going into the start of to January as well. And it pains me to admit it, but it was actually just plain poor management. It was a niggle that prior to the Wolves game, he may not have. Well, he might have been able to rest for a game or two and then been fine. He might have needed more time, but unfortunately, it was just you shouldn't have risked it. And by risking it, it caused his injury to get worse, and he's been out ever since. So.
That's how he is. Rashford needs time. Whenever he returns, he always takes a while. I think he did get injured, not horrifically, before the Christmas period. Played continuous too many games, and it doesn't help his fitness. And he's a young kid still at the end of the day.
The injury almost came out of nowhere, actually, if I'm honest, because he had a great start to the season, it's fair to say. You know, I sort of couldn't believe the kind of run he was on. But he
did.
So, well, no, it was the whole penalty saga that seemed to have, made me think, oh God, is his mentality still not quite strong enough yet? Because we all knew he had to take the penalty against Wolves, but Pogba took it and consequently missed it. Wasn't a great penalty. Your keeper has to be there to save it, and he did. And in the next game, I forget who it was. Whoever it was, I can't remember who it was. Was it Les?
Martial Matter? Not Daniel James.
No. I just mean, in the next game we had another penalty, and he did eventually take it, but he missed it.
I would Rashford who missed it. I mean, he did miss it.
Yeah, no. I mean, like the first one he should have taken against Wolves, because you saw the penalty he took against Chelsea on day one. We were watching it together, and it was an absolute cracking penalty. It was very similar to the one he took against PSG. We all thought, well, it's obvious. He's your striker. He took it the week before. He's got to take it again. Yeah. And then when Pogba took it, well, we all thought, well, you've got to score it. He didn't. The following week, Rashi could have, he did take the ball back as he should, and he missed his penalty. So it was like successive games of penalty misses, and his confidence dipped a little bit, but it came back, and my God, did it come back? He was on ridiculous form all the way up until his injury. And you know me, I do like Martial, but I've been teasing him about the fact that Rash is basically giving him 2 months extra, something to play with, and he still hasn't caught up to him yet. But no,
So it shows the fact that we have to be careful of the game management as well whenever we return. I think they can't just say it has to be 30th of June or nothing else, because if we do not return for 3rd or 4th of April, too many games for these teams, because also if apparently it's going to be recorded behind doors, empty stadiums in a neutral area in the Midlands, if that's the case, then they also are suggesting that each match will be televised. So that also could be an issue as well.
What are your it's a really good point you bring up there. What are your thoughts on recommencing? Oh God, is that even a word? Restarting the league again. I don't know. For the sake of curiosity, let's say mid-May, for example. So we've got the 1.5 month period that we feel we'd need to get the league done. What if they did start it up again, but chose not to risk the fan involvement and just have it all behind closed doors? As fans, we obviously love the atmosphere and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Do you think the right thing to do is take no extra risks and just do it behind closed doors completely and get the rest of the season done? Or do you think they should only start up again when they're in a position to make it safe for everybody?
That's a really interesting question, because then with our football heart, we're going to say start. But then the ultimate issue is these guys are humans at the end of the day. They're not robots. If the condition has not improved for the fans to come to the stadium, it should not be regarded okay for the footballers themselves. We've talked about all the staff members that are around. We have to also take into account that these guys are traveling from venue to another venue. where they're
Well,
evident,
yeah. Mm.
and you are carrying for virus. You could be carrying something from one place to the other. One person may. There was a case in Japan that someone who had already contracted the disease, the viral disease, contracted it again for a second time. So
That's
there's
right.
no,
Yeah.
yeah. So it could happen.
I read
Someone
that.
may have already had it. Say Arteta, he may contract it again. That's
Absolutely.
no say anything bad against Arteta, but he may be in a coach thinking that he's okay, symptomless, and he may have it again. Odoi, Hudson, a lot of people can have it. There was a really good story about that French defender that used to play for Man City that went to Valencia. That he came from Valencia. Sorry, that he came from Porto originally. That expensive flop.
Um,
Yeah.
I know the one you mean. It's not another Mendy, is it? No.
I mean, we'll probably have to Google it, but he basically was symptomless for a while, for a week or two, and his whole team was in quarantine. The whole club was tested, and he was told by the doctors that he tested positive, and his reaction was that this must be a joke. I'm
Does he
fine.
play now? Do you know where he plays?
I think at Valencia right now, actually, or
Hmm.
Villarreal. Um,
What
should I
is his
Google
name?
it? We can Google
Yeah,
it.
yeah, go
Yeah,
for it. I mean,
Google,
I'll keep
Google.
I'll keep waffling away while you do. One of us has got to be professional. But
Yeah.
but no, I mean, I completely agree. I mean, I just think you can't, football matches are obviously made by the quality of players on the pitch, but the atmosphere is made by the fans. I mean, I don't like what PSG stand for and everything like that, for example, but it was weird watching them play Dortmund with, you know, well, not a peep in the stadium, but they were all outside the stadium, weren't they, making an absolute racket?
What was the point? Oh,
Yeah.
it's Mangala. By the way, it's Mangala.
Okay. Or not on the camera. Not on the camera. Is it Ezekiel Mangala? Something like that?
Eloquent Mangala.
Eliaquim. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. But no, I mean, yeah. But that's the thing. That's why that was another reason actually. You're bringing up really triggering a few memories here. It's exactly why they should have stopped football the second they got word of it, because there are so many fans who just can't help themselves, who want to be involved, who are going to go to the pub if you don't show them the game.
He
And
was now.
and a lot of
This
these fans were basically crowded outside with their flares and everything like that. They are just as at risk, if not more so than the people who are supposedly playing the game
yeah.
safely indoors. And that's
Example,
just
you don't know. These people thought they were okay, but like your snooker example, if you're going to go to the World Championships, these guys are going. It is a big event. Their chance to finally end the curse of going past the last 16. But you are around some other fans you do not know who may be infected, and possibly we don't know. But there's a reason why France have shut the borders. Have got martial law there right now because of fans like that.
well, yeah. I mean, it's hardly a surprise. I mean, obviously, I really got to feel for and sympathise with everything going on in Italy right now. But their measure that they've actually currently been forced to take is spot on. It's in effect like a nationwide, of course you have to pop out to get certain emergency supplies like groceries and things like that. I mean, we've got so many people over here, for example, who are buying toilet paper they don't actually need, but they're just buying it for the sake of it. And the sad part is, yeah, and the sad part is, we know for a fact that there are people who can't actually buy more than
You can't even find.
one packet of toilet. Yes, there are some people who can't actually buy more than one pack or something, a small pack, any earlier than the week before or the week about to come by, and we have to appreciate that. It's just people just going crazy I appreciate. I get it's a crazy situation, but you know, by overbuying, you're actually making it harder for everyone else. You know, and certain people that need it more than we do. You know, I bet you a lot of these guys, if they look behind them, they've probably got about 3 or 4 packs already.
It's the same people that used to laugh at refugees that, oh, you're coming from a war-torn nation. If it was my country, I'll stay and stay firm. And it's basically the topic of people are when there's a chaotic environment around them, then they think about fleeing or they think about how they behave. It's very similar to how these refugees will behave, like they're trying to go and stockpile to somewhere more stable.
Mm-hmm. No, absolutely. I mean, scenarios like this will sadly bring out the kind of, I hate to say the word, but a bit of a selfish side in people. It's desperate. It's obviously, you know, you're obviously trying to do the right thing and trying to look after yourself and your family, but in the process, you unintentionally sort of, you know, kind of leave somebody else who needs it more in a worse position, and that's a real kind of shame, to be honest with you.
That's what supermarkets are complaining about, all this hoarding that a lot of people are doing. And we do not know, as we said, we do not know how bad the conditions are. We also need to consider that if everyone deserves a right, because we live in a democratic nation where people deserve to have access to all these facilities that should be available to them, including the elderly who find it difficult to go anytime that they can. We may be active, but there's elderly people, special needs individuals that find it difficult to go to the shop whenever. And it's unfair on these people. Thank goodness our shops are putting some initiatives in order to designate a certain slot of time just for these people.
Oh, are they? Okay, I wasn't aware of that. I mean, like, yeah. I mean, from my perspective, we just know. Hello, hey,
hello.
How's it going?
Yeah, he's a big football fan. What do you like? Chelsea. Why don't you say hello?
No. Already community.
Yeah. Big Chelsea fan. If you wanted to come and say hello.
No.
A big one fan as well. I know this is a different topic, but it's all good. Oh, hello. Would you like to? She's basically got a YouTube channel. What's your YouTube channel again? Mini Billy Maker.
There we go. For all of you out there, promoting it now.
It's like Ryan's World, but it's bigger and better.
But no, I mean, we have got to sort of look out for people who can't actually make as many journeys as possible, which is, you know, it's a crying chat. Hey, hello.
Come to watch YouTube, but I think to watch her YouTube channel.
Oh, really?
I don't know.
Well, we're not on YouTube at the moment, so let's see if it gets it.